Welcome back to What You Will Learn. My name is Adam Ashton.
And my name is Adam Jones. Today we are reviewing a book by Daniel H. Pink, To Sell is Human, The Surprising Truth About Persuading, Convincing and Influencing Others.
So we did Dan Pink's, not first book, but a different book called Drive, probably over 12 months ago, more. Drive I absolutely love. To Sell is Human. I really like how Dan Pink writes his books. Very clear structure. There's 3 parts, 3 chapters in each part, straight to the point. Enough stories, but not too much stories that it's boring. Like, it's enough to give you what you need. And yeah, this is all about sales.
Every time he writes, you can always just condense it into 3 or 4 small takeaways.
Which I think is perfect. It's like there's some books that are just way too much, not clear. This is like very clear, very precise, concise. Yeah, love Dan.
So this book's all about selling, and it's not the traditional stereotypical viewpoint of your sleazy car salesman.
Yeah.
He's saying at the start of the book especially that, we're all in sales, and it's not just this traditional thing, whether it's pitching an idea or sending an email or doing a tweet, we all need sales skills in pretty much everything we do.
Yeah, and part 1 is called Rebirth of a Salesman, and chapter 1 is We're All in Sales. And he starts off with a story of this dude called Norman Hall, the Fuller Brush Man. So it used to be this company where there were dudes all over the country who'd go door to door, knocking on doors of homes and offices, trying to sell everything like cleaning shit, mops and brooms and whatever else. And he reckons he's the last dude left. He's still got a couple of boxes in his shed. He bought too much shit. He's still trying to sell it. So that's obviously one extreme. Going door to door, he's got an old catalogue, buy this male ostrich feather duster for $29.95. That's one extreme. But he says that's 1/9 of people are in direct, like their job is something salesman. But the other 8 out of 9 are also in sales.
Yeah.
And what he calls non-sales selling.
So in non-sales selling, we're persuading, convincing and influencing others to give something up they've got in exchange for something we've got.
Yes.
Not always money, could just be time or anything simple.
Yeah, as you say, just exchanging something you value, and it could be, as you say, anything. And it's not always just a clear money for goods. It could be anything.
One of the big points he keeps talking about in the book, it's moved from this concept of buyer beware now to seller beware.
Yeah, exactly.
So in the past, when, say, if you got an absolute fucker kind of a used car salesman, you had no hope because he had all the information. You don't know if it's bad. But these days, with something like things like the internet and reviews, you can go and just absolutely slaughter this dude, and then his reviews are going to be so bad, no one's going to go after him. So it's all of a sudden he's the one on the back foot and making sure he's towing the right line, because otherwise he's going to have no business pretty quickly. Yeah,
exactly. Spot on. I don't think I've got too much more to add. Basically, just there used to be asymmetric information that the buyer knew more than the seller knew more than the buyer. But as you say, now everyone's got the same info. Mate, I think you nailed that, actually. The only other thing is that we assume that in economics, they say that every single person is fully informed, they're rational, they act out of self-interest, they weigh up the costs and the benefits, and they choose based... Jesus.
Hello? Who's that? What's the matter?
Open up.
What? Just tell me what's the matter.
Fucking open up, I ask you.
What's the matter?
Fucking shut up, okay?
Yeah.
Fucking in, I did everything, okay?
Yeah, we'll quiet down.
Just fucking shut up.
Okay.
How do we tackle that? Oh, he was yes. He's probably...
I don't want to open that door. He's going to fucking...
Oh, yeah, mate, he would have come bashed us.
All right. So...
Okay. He's not a fan of the potty. He hates the potty.
So we're recording right now at my girlfriend's house, and obviously there's thin walls or something because the guy next door, he had to just slaughter us.
He came and bashed the door down. So anyway, I think I was saying there was...
He sold that idea well, mate, for us to quiet down. So we've just
moved
rooms now.
We've
so
changed rooms.
Hopefully we're all right.
I think I was saying that, economics says that everyone's fully informed, fully rational, weigh up the costs and benefits, self-interested, but we know that that's not true, that either people don't have enough info or there are plenty of things that can play to people's irrationalities, as we've discussed in previous books.
It's good stuff, man.
Mate, the other chapter I liked in part 1, well, actually I liked them all, there's only 3, but the other one that we didn't talk about was how everyone is in sales and there's a big difference between irritation and agitation. So he says that irritation is challenging something to do something that we want them to, whereas agitation is challenging to do something that they want to. So irritation is us saying, hey, buy this off us because we want them to, whereas agitation is say, hey, why don't you try this? That's going to benefit them. So that's two distinct differences, and obviously agitation is the way to go, not irritation.
Nice, man. Love it. Then the next, he also talks about how the trend is that we're going toward more of an entrepreneurship. So in chapter 2, entrepreneurship, elasticity, and med. So the middle class won't be part of large organizations, but they'll be self-sufficient artisans, he'll say. So there'll be a lot more like freelancing and moving in between companies as a freelancer, as opposed to just relying on your primary employer for your income as well.
Yeah, spot on. And Dan Pink's first book was called Free Agent Nation, which I think was like 99 or 2000, 2001. So he was very early onto this thing that the world's changing, that it's going to be more free agents, more freelancers rather than all employees.
Good stuff, man.
Mate, so part 2 was How to Be. And it's an ABC. So there's the movie with Glenn Ross, where Alec Baldwin said, ABC, always be closing. It's a top dog salesman. I think first price is a trip, second price is steak knives, third price you're fired. So that was the extremes of sales. Whereas this ABC is attunement, buoyancy, and clarity. So attunement first up.
So attunement, it's essentially perspective taking, and it's the heart of the first essential quality in moving others. So being able to just listen and just see the other guy's perspective, especially.
Yeah, he says it's almost like the chameleon effect, where you sort of mirror the other person's mannerisms, their vocal patterns, as a way of getting a sense of empathy for who they are, what they feel, what they want, what they need. And so just that, like some things that might seem bizarre, but work is getting in a state of rapport, whether if someone takes a sip of water, then you take a sip of water. If someone's tapping their finger, you tap your finger. Not super obvious immediately as soon as they do it, but eventually we get into a pattern where you're sort of pacing and leading.
Mate, if you get caught doing that, then it's the absolute opposite effect.
High risk, high reward.
So that's one of the first things for attunement. The second one is increasing the power by reducing it. So if you're in a position of too much power, it leads you to anchor too heavily on your own vantage point, making yourself insufficient to adjust the other person's perspective.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be able to give up a bit of your power to understand their point of view.
And the third one is use your head as much as your heart. So with perspective taking and empathy are empirical twins. So you got to think of what the other person's thinking, and the way to do that a lot of the time is just having a lot of empathy for the other person.
Yeah, nice. He talks about the spectrum of extroversion, introversion. So he says that most people think, the extroverts, they're the best salesmen. They're out, they're happy, they're comfortable talking in front of people. But really he says it's the ambiverts, which are people halfway between introverts and extroverts, and they can go sort of either way. They're not so extroverted that they're just all about them, and they're not so introverted that they're scared to sell, I guess. Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense, man. If you think of the extrovert who's just always talking, always the big, the big mouth, the loudest at the party or whatever. Then on the other end of the spectrum, you got the little bitches in the corner doing absolutely nothing. So it's kind of like a negative parabolic shape.
Yeah, like an upside down U, where at the far introversion, you're not so good. At the far extroversion, you're not so good. So somewhere in the middle, the ambiversion is the best salesman.
So at the end of each chapter, he's got a few actions, and one of them is practice strategic mimicry. Number 2, pull up a chair and think of the audience in a presentation. So if you're practicing for a presentation, put another chair in there just so you're always thinking of it from the audience's perspective. And number 3, find uncommon commonalities. So where are you and this person find common ground, and you can meet and build that additional rapport, as you were saying.
Nice. A good thing I liked as well that he said is to start a conversation, say, where are you from? And so people can take that whatever way they want. They could take it, geographically. I was born in Mildura and then I moved to the city or something like that. Or they could take it as, what company do they work for? And they could answer it that way. So it's whilst it sounds like you're asking a specific question, it's actually pretty open, and they can take it multiple different ways.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. B was buoyancy. So A was attunement. B is buoyancy.
Yeah. And so it's all about staying positive. So being positive in sales, obviously if you're feeling too negative, then you're going to be too scared, I guess, to put your ideas out there and try and influence people. Yeah.
Yeah, and at the same time, you can't be too positive. So he talks about a positivity ratio. So positivity, the view, broadens people's ideas about the possible actions,
Yes.
opening an awareness to a wider range of thoughts. But then if you go too far down the positive track where you're having, and he talks about the ratio of positive to negative thoughts, you want it to be about 3-1 to 11-1.
Yeah.
But if you're the law of attraction type where you're doing, 150-1 and you're just living on another fucking planet, you're not really here.
Exactly. If you're doing less than 3 positive emotions for every negative, then you're going to be too negative. If you're doing more than 11, as you say, you go off the deep end.
And
And
the reason you need to be buoyant is because anyone in sales or in Dan Pink's version of sales, you're going to be copping a lot of no's.
Definitely.
So it's essentially just an antidote to all the no's that you're going to cop.
Yeah, nice. And so he actually gives a before, a during, and an after. So say you've got a pitch or whatever ask it takes. So he says before, you need interrogative self-talk. So it's not pumping yourself up and saying, oh, I'm the best salesman there ever is. I've got the best product. Everyone loves me. It's more interrogative self-talk. So asking yourself questions. So saying, am I a good public speaker? And then your brain responds to the questions. So then you fill in the gaps of, yeah, I am a good speaker because last week I did this, this, this. And so it's like he says, the Bob the Builder style, can we fix it? Yes, we can. So rather than just trying to pump yourself up with statements, ask yourself questions.
Because a lot of the time if you ask the question, you'll start finding reasons why you can.
Exactly.
And it really enforces your own self-confidence to be able to do whatever it is you're trying to do.
And then, as you said, during is the negative emotions during are going to narrow you to fight or flight, whereas the positive ones are going to open you to be more receptive, more creative. But then after, so say something doesn't go so well, the after, it's really important in your explanatory style. A bad way to do it is to say this is a permanent and pervasive situation, saying things like, oh, I'm so bad at this. But instead, you should view it as temporary and a specific and an external sort of thing, like, oh, this guy today, he wasn't ready to buy this product right now. So making it a specific short-term thing rather than something bad about yourself. So that's the buoyancy.
Nice. So attunement, buoyancy, and C is clarity.
And that's obviously just being super clear. Yeah.
So clarity is the capacity to help others see their situations in fresh and more revealing ways and to identify problems they didn't realize they had. So a big one he talks about is finding your frame. So for Dan Pink, he tells a story where him and his mate were walking down the street and they saw some homeless dude just sitting there and it said, I am blind. And Dan Pink's mate said, look, I can make this guy clean up,
Yeah, get more little donations.
So all they said, they changed the sign from I am blind to it is springtime and I am blind. And the homeless dude just cleaned up.
Yeah, well, so it's obviously just changing that frame. From the first one is this guy saying, I am blind. And people can just look at that and think, poor guy is blind, just walk past. Whereas saying it's springtime and I'm blind, obviously then people then put together, the birds are out and about, the flowers are blooming, and this guy's blind, he can't see any of this. So that's obviously a complete change of frame.
And it comes up in a few books. He says clarity depends on contrast. And it's like in Influence, right, where they talk about relativity. So the most essential question people always ask is compared to what?
Yeah.
So you need to give them that kind of reference.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing about clarity is it says always give people a clear path of action. So if you're trying to get someone to do something, make it as clear as possible.
Nice. He talks about saying in sales, asking the right questions is better than having the right answers. Because if you just have answers all the time, you're not letting the other person think. But if you're asking a question, the other person's processing in their brain or forced to process certain things, and then might start buying your viewpoint.
Yeah, exactly. Saying switching from a problem solver to a problem finder. So part 3 was what to do.
Yeah.
So we did a bit of it, we're all in sales is part 1. Part 2 was the how to be. That was the ABC. And then part 3 is what to do.
So the first part is pitch. So it's no longer the big elevator pitch that 50 years ago was made famous where you hop in the elevator and then the CEO pops in. There's all these other types of pitches that we have to deal with these days.
Mate, what was cool, which I didn't know was a thing? 1853, a dude named Elisha Otis, founding the Otis company of elevators. So his elevator pitch was literally pitching elevators. So I don't know. I suppose that's where it came from. But yeah, that was sick.
Nice.
But yeah, there's a whole bunch of different types of pitches. So there's like the one-word pitch, the question pitch, the rhyming pitch, email pitch, Twitter pitch.
Yeah, the whole lot. So with the question pitch, you obviously just ask something like, is this a good idea? The rhyming pitch, he says it always works because it kind of sticks in the head. Life is strife, woes unite foes, and all this kind of stupid stuff.
Yeah, so he says that like people, they did a test on people where it's like there was life is mostly struggle or life is mostly strife. And everyone remembered the strife one much more than the struggle one. And same as you say, woes unite enemies or woes unite foes. Whereas anything that's rhyming is so much clearer and easier for people to understand and remember.
Even in emails these days, every email tagline is a pitch as well.
Yeah, essentially you're pitching to get someone to open it. That's what you want them to do, is to open it, so it's a pitch in itself.
A common one he says also is the Pixar pitch, which happens in all Pixar movies and is really effective. So it's pretty basic, but it's saying, once upon a time, X happened. Every day this happened. One day something new happened because of that, until finally the solution came along.
Yeah, exactly. And he says you can pretty much apply this to any Pixar movie.
And so if you're trying to sell something, sell it in the context of this kind of story.
Yeah.
You know, every day, shall I go off the top of the head?
Yeah, give it a crack.
So say if you're saying, I don't know, selling podcasting or something to someone, and he goes, every day, once upon a time, everyone listened to on the radio. Every day they hopped in the car and listened to the radio. One day someone invented podcasting. Because of that, people could listen on demand. Because of that, people enjoyed podcasting more along, until finally what you will learn came along. Yes. Fucked them all up.
Mate, that's actually pretty good.
Mate, I'm pretty happy.
That was actually phenomenal.
I've never done something good on the fly on this show.
I'd change that to we've never done something good on the fly. Definitely. So I reckon that's a plus.
Yeah.
So after pitch was improvise. Yeah.
Mate, this is a big one for me.
Mate, this will be your domain, I think.
I absolutely love it. So I started doing an improv course about 3 months ago, and it's one of the best things I've ever done. And Dan Pink says it's one of the most important things or the best ways of training yourself as a salesman. Not probably the conventional or the first thing or the normal way thing. It's more about listening and being open to possibilities. Because when you try and pitch someone something or sell them something, you got to be able to listen and then respond to what they're doing, rather than just have this preconceived notion of how the sale should go. Exactly. You should be able to respond to whatever they're doing. Yeah,
100%. And so as you say, whenever you say something or give your big presentation or big pitch, you need to always wait and listen. Be engaged, be active, be an intimate listener, and think any objection is really an offer in disguise. So we say if someone gives you an objection on one point of view, if you're listening effectively and able to improvise, then you can use that as they're basically giving you an offer. Say, give me more information. Prove to me that this is what I just said is wrong. Because they're not saying no, I'm not buying. They're actually wanting more from you.
It's all about saying yes and this idea with the good thing about improv, and he says in this book, and I'm saying now, is it's a way to make you listen better. And this isn't something that's taught in schools, which is kind of absurd, because it's probably one of the most important life skills you could ever have, and it's never found in the whole educational process. So improv definitely makes you listen better.
And yes and, as opposed to yes but. So he says whenever you're in any kind of discussion or negotiation, you never want to argue. You always want to make your partner look good, and you want to be thinking win-win. So how can both you're not trying to like screw the other person over. You're trying to make sure that you can both win.
Absolutely. And they're all points that come up in a lot of books, especially, the win-win. So you got to find the compromise and not win-lose, where you as a salesman are just going to fuck the other person.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to make sure you're both walking away with something good.
Mate, and that's a great segue to serve. So we had pitch, we had improvise, and then serve. So serve, essentially, as a salesman, you want to be improving lives and improving the world, not just screwing people over.
Yeah. Those who move others aren't manipulators, but are servants. And it's all about serving first and sell later. So with that, be personal and purposeful if you're moving people. So if you're selling something that you think you're going to genuinely help the other person, it might just be an idea or something as simple as that. Just someone get off their ass and go to the gym.
Yeah, exactly.
Just see the purpose in it. So good stuff, man.
Mate, as I said, so I reckon it was really good. So you got your part one, Rebirth of a Salesman, just convincing us that we're all in sales, even if our job title doesn't say that. And then how to be, we've got attunement, buoyancy, and clarity. And then what to do, pitch, serve, improvise.
Mate, do we recover from the next door neighbour?
He hasn't come back. So it's probably...
We've moved rooms. Mate, that was unbelievable. Mate, we'd normally be tough guys, but
we didn't open the door, that's for sure.
We didn't open the door.
He could have a fucking knife.
Mate, he sounded like a fucking Eastern European kind of...
He sounded like he was high as well.
Yeah, he definitely sounded
Aggressive.
high and aggressive. He could be waiting out the door right now, man. I'm a little bit worried about him.
Shit.
Staying here all day.
We unintentionally left the mics recording, but I reckon we'll leave it in.
Yeah, we'll let... And if you want the book, just click on the episode description link at the bottom where you can find yourself on Book Depository where we get ours.
Yep, exactly. And mate, this song, the last song involved the Drive song involved a line that you just came out with, one of our very first songs, and I think the line will make a comeback for the Dan Pink.
I think the next song's going to be a little bit rude, so
it's X-rated.
Just skip it.
Yeah.
If you don't already, just skip it. But if you're offended easily, definitely just don't listen to the next couple of minutes.
Dan Pink! Dan Pink! Dan Pink! Sell it to me, Dan!
Sale is Human by Daniel Pink.
Sell it to me, Dan! Sell it to me, Dan, with your finger, Dan!
Persuading truth, persuading by convincing and influencing other people.
Dan Pink is convincing me with his finger in the air, spinning around the air. Dan Pink, 3 fingers, 1 in the pink, 2 in the stick. Dan Pink!
To be attunement, buoyancy, clarity. Get attuned to the pink and the stink.
It's all about the purpose, Dan Pink. It's all about the purpose, Dan Pink.
Oh yes.
Improvise, Dan Pink.
Pitch, improvise and serve.
Dan Pink.
That's what you have to do.
Dan Pink.
Pitch, improvise and serve.
Daddy Pink now,
Do Dan Pink.
now, Daddy Pink now, Daddy Pink, Daddy Pink.
1 in the pink and 2 in the stink, Dan Pink.